Hey guys, Rob here with McDojoLife. Have you ever heard the phrase, registering your hands as deadly weapons?
My hands are registered as lethal weapons.
Maybe you heard that's a real thing, or perhaps you heard people say that it was complete nonsense.
And I think all that lethal weapon horse shit is just an excuse so you dancers never have to get in a real fight.
Well, believe it or not, it actually might be a little more true than more people think that it is. Let's check it out in the breakdown. First, let's go and talk a little bit about the fact that this is 90% garbage. Most of it is actually complete made-up nonsense that was just a money-making scheme.
Do you have to have your hands registered as lethal weapons?
Register this.
Back in the day in martial arts movies, you would hear about people saying they had to register their hands as deadly weapons. Or you'd even see this a lot in martial arts magazines. You would see ads that would claim that you can register your hands and get certified to have your hands as deadly weapons. One ad stated, "Impress your friends. Have your hands registered with the Department of Hand Registration. Only $3 for an impressive certificate to hang on your wall. Order now and receive free wallet-sized registration card to carry with you. Send your name, address, and $3 to the listed address below." While another ad stated, "How often have you heard black belts on TV and in movies say, 'I'm warning you, my hands are registered as deadly weapons.' Now you can register your hands and become a card-carrying martial artist with proof that you are the possessor of deadly hands. Send us your name, rank, and style, and you will receive an official ID card with your personal registration number, plus a handsome certificate suitable for framing. Only $9.95 plus $1.50 shipping. Send check or money order to National Martial Arts Hand Registration."
What a load of shit.
Now, obviously, these ads are novelty and they're not actually required of you. You don't actually have to register your hands or your feet or your head or whatever other body part you'd like to register for that matter for really any reason whatsoever. But what I'm about to tell you might just blow your mind. There actually is a place that does require you to register your hands and or your feet as deadly weapons.
You just blew my fucking mind.
That place, none other than the United States territory of Guam. As old as those martial arts ads that I showed you earlier are, the first person didn't actually have to register their hands or their feet until August 13th, 1990. How do we know that information? Well, we actually contacted the Department of Revenue and Taxation in Guam. Before we get into that, though, I would like to kind of address the actual law. I want to bring your attention to Title 10 of Guam Code Annotated, or the GCA, Health and Safety. The GCA, or Guam Code Annotated, established the permanent laws of Guam relating to and enforce in Guam. Chapter 62 of the GCA is entirely about karate and judo experts. According to Section 62100, registration is required, and it states the following. Any person who is an expert in the art of karate or judo, or any similar physical art in which the hands and feet are used as deadly weapons, is required to register with the Department of Revenue and Taxation. Well, I guess that means Aikido practitioners are out, am I right? It's just a joke. Don't get your hakamas in a bunch, or hakamas, or however you want to pronounce it. But I digress. I'm not sure if you noticed, but there was a little typo in that form there where it says R instead of art. They might want to get that fixed as soon as possible. The next section, Section 62101, states this chapter shall not apply to duly authorized and appointed peace and law enforcement officers, nor to the members of the armed forces of the United States. That means if you were a police officer or military, you don't have to register. But, according to this law anyway, what exactly constitutes as an expert? Well, Section 62104 actually clears that up for us and states the following. A karate or judo expert required to register by the provisions of this chapter shall be a person trained in the arts of karate, judo, or other hand-to-hand technique whereby the hands, feet, or other parts of the body are used as weapons, who shall have completed at least one level of training therein and shall have been issued a belt or other symbol showing proficiency in such art. Translation: once you received your first belt promotion or the equivalent in whatever art you are in, you would have to actually register your hands and or feet. The The next question is obviously, what happens if you don't register your hands or your feet as deadly weapons? Well, section 62105 clears that up for us. Any person required by this chapter to register who fails to do so, or who registers but fails to pay the fee, shall be guilty of a misdemeanor. While it doesn't give us the exact punishment, because that's usually a case-by-case basis, the typical punishment for a misdemeanor is either a fine, less than a year in jail, community service, or probation. Now, the cost to register for this, once you do register, is actually pretty minimal and lasts forever once you do. According to section 62103, the fee for the registration of a karate or judo expert shall be $5. Such registration shall be perpetual and need not be renewed. Some of you are probably thinking, man, $5 to be officially considered a deadly weapon is a pretty good deal. Deadly Weapon, by the way, is a cheesy 1980s sci-fi movie, which sounds a lot like it should be a Steven Seagal movie, but don't get it confused with Deathly Weapon, which is an actual Steven Seagal movie from 2016. But I digress. As cool as it sounds to be considered a deadly weapon officially, you might want to pay attention to this final section before you go ahead and sign up. Section 62106 states, any registered karate or judo expert who thereafter is charged with having used his art in a physical assault on some person shall, upon conviction thereof, be deemed guilty of aggravated assault. Now, some of you are probably thinking, man, big deal. You got caught, you did this, you got convicted, you were going to get charged with assault anyway, which is fairly true, but not all assault is created equal. You see, you have simple assault and aggravated assault, which are not the same thing. Simple assault is considered a misdemeanor and involves either the threat of immediate harm or a physical act that results in minimal injury. While aggravated assault is a felony and involves an assault resulting in serious bodily harm, or an assault committed with a weapon, or with the intent to commit a serious crime, such as rape. Now, if you paid attention to that definition, you would notice that it says assault with a weapon, which officially, once you registered your hands and feet as deadly weapons, you have now become. Simple assault carries penalties of up to a year in jail and fines from $500 to $2,500. While aggravated assault can get you 10, 15, or even 20 years in prison and could result in $5,000 to $20,000 in fines.
Whoop-de-doo! What does it all mean?
It means even if you committed simple assault and no one was severely injured, you automatically brought a weapon into the situation because you were officially registered as one. So, if you committed simple assault, it will now be trumped up to aggravated assault because you are a weapon. Something else to even consider here is whether you registered your hands and feet as deadly weapons or not, you could still be charged with using your hands and feet as deadly weapons depending on the circumstance. This was the case in 2015 when MMA fighter Jamal Parks pled guilty and got 6 years in prison for assaulting a police officer with a deadly weapon, aka his hands. The assistant district attorney who was working the case, Bill Vassar, said it's pretty unusual, but in this instance, because he's an MMA fighter, we thought it was appropriate to charge his hands as deadly weapons. Keep in mind that you don't even have to be trained or a fighter to catch that exact same charge. Because even though body parts themselves are not deadly weapons, they can be used in a way to cause great bodily injury or death. And yes, there are other cases of people who were not trained whatsoever who caught that charge. But if you are trained, you might want to watch out in who you're picking fights with because that might be a charge that can come to you a little easier because of your training. Earlier in this video, I told you that I directly contacted the Department of Revenue and Taxation in Guam. You might notice in that email that it said Alex instead of Rob. Well, Alex is the guy who runs the production company who helped us film our documentary about fakes, frauds, phonies, con men, and pedophiles in the martial arts industry. And while we are still working on a distribution deal for our film, I can tell you about one little section in the movie, and it applies to this video right here. In our film, we actually called a ridiculous amount of numbers and talked to a lot of people in order to get our hands and feet registered. So in our movie, you get to see us have a really hard time trying to get our hands and feet registered. But I finally did get a hold of someone, and they did send me this form here, which is a form to get your hands and feet registered with Guam. The funniest part about this form is 75% of the form is pretty much basic information you would have to fill out for almost anything that you would register for. And the martial arts portion is a bottom footnote. It simply asks what styles of martial arts that you're a master of, if you would like to register your hands, your feet, or both. So I registered both my feet and my hands because we don't want these regular ass hands getting out on the street and hurting people unregistered. So let's wrap this thing up here. Do you have to register your hands and feet as deadly weapons when you become a black belt? Or at all? Or ever? 99% of the time, the answer will be simply no. That's ridiculous. You don't have to do that. Unless you reside in Guam. So, if you hear somebody saying something like, my hands are registered as deadly weapons, or you hear it in a movie, or you hear some random dude saying it, or chick, I'm not discriminating, there are chicks who are full of shit too, so let's equal rights it real fast. But at the end of the day, if you hear that, chances are good it's pretty much nonsense. As you all know, if you watch my videos more regularly, this is around the time that I actually put in a little interactive spot, so that way I know if you actually watch the full video or not. So, in the comment section below, when you add your thoughts about this particular video, I would love to know a time when you remember hearing the phrase, register your hands as deadly weapons. As always, thank you all for the likes, comments, shares, subscriptions, memberships, and all that other crap people online tell you to do. Keep the martial arts legit.